Hey, you guys, I am back. Okay, so we are going to review quite a few things today. First thing we're going to review is constant rate of change. Remember, constant rate of change is change over y over the change over x, okay? It's just a pattern that we get from y's and our x's. So let's go ahead and knock this out. So it says use the data in the table. What is the constant rate of change? Okay, so remember that's still change over y over change over x. So let's look at our y's. I notice that I have positives and I have negatives. I'm going to be honest, I like to deal with friendly numbers. And so, not saying that all numbers aren't friendly, but I'd rather stick with my positives. So if I look, how do I get from 3 to 5? I have to add 2. How do I get from 0 to 5? I have to add 5. Now remember, it's y is at the top. Y is my numerator. So we're going to do 2 over 5. So we know that B and C cannot be my answer. Look at D. Notice that they put their X on top. That is one of the big mistakes that people make, is that they put X on top. Y is going to be my top number. So my answer is A. All right, next one. It says use the data in the table. What is the constant rate of change? Again, how do we find constant rate of change? Remember, it's change over y over change over x. I notice I have positives and I have negatives, but this time, well, I can get from 3 to 19, right? How do I get from 3 to 19? Plus 16. Now, I have to get from negative 3 to 1. I could make a number line. So negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1. So I'm from negative 3, so I can move 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So now I have 16 as my change over y. That goes at the top. And I have 4 as my change over x. So 16 divided by 4, that's going to get me 4. You try the next one. You try the next one. And we'll check to see how you do. So it says, Jonathan charted the cost of buying drinks at his party. 24 drinks were $9.60, 36 drinks was $14.40, and 48 drinks were $19.20. What conclusion can Jonathan conclude about the constant rate of change of the data? Remember, that's still change over y over change over x. I'm just finding my patterns. Okay, so how do I get from 916 to 1440? Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to subtract. So that's 0, 14. So 14 minus 6, that's 7. And 13 minus 9, that is 4. So this is 470. And then how do you get from 24 to 36? That's going to be 12. So we have 470. Ooh, y'all didn't tell me I made a mistake. This should be 14 minus 6. Let's count that again. That should be 8, right? Y'all got to tell me when Miss Harkins makes a mistake. So we have, it should be $4.80. That's my change over y and my x. So should be 12. Well, we know that my answer cannot be D because 12 is my X. So now let's go ahead and divide. 12 cannot go into 4. So if I look at my answer choices, I can go ahead and eliminate C because my number in front of my decimal is a 0. Now 12 can go into 48 4 times. Make 0, bring down my 0. 12 goes into 0 0 times. So my answer is B. Okay, so now we're going to review solving inequalities. Remember, our first step when we solve is we're going to add or subtract. Our second step, we're going to multiply and divide. And then my last step, if I have a negative coefficient, I need to flip the inequality. So let's go ahead and try this out. So let's look at the first one. We have negative 3 minus 4x minus 2 is greater than 11. Ooh, this is some things that I noticed. I noticed I have multiple constants going on. I have a negative 3 and a negative 2. Let's go ahead and combine that. What's negative 3 plus negative 2? So I have negative 3, 1, 2, 3, and I have negative 2, 1, 2. That gives me what? Negative 5. So I have negative 5 minus 4x is greater than 11. Okay, so now I can start with step 1. My step 1, I want to go ahead and move my constant. So what is the inverse to negative 5? Is plus 5. So add 5 here, add 5 here. My 5 0 out. I'm going to bring down my negative 4x. I'm going to bring down my inequality sign. And 11 plus 5 gives me 16. Now I'm going to do my next step. My next step is to get x by itself. So we're going to divide because that's the inverse to multiplication. So we're going to divide by negative 4. Whoa, 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 whoa. Do you notice how I have a negative coefficient? I'm going to go ahead and flip that sign. And I'm going to finish dividing. So that makes 1x. 16 divided by negative 4 gets me a negative 4. If I was to graph that, so negative 4 would not be included, so it's not shaded. And I'm going to be going to the left. So all numbers that are greater than, all numbers that are less than negative 4 would be negative 5, negative 6, and so on and so forth. How about you do one with a partner and then we'll check your answer. Okay, so now let's see how y'all did. So we know that we don't have anything to combine, right? We can go ahead and just start solving. So we have the inverse to plus 3 is minus 3, minus 3. My 3 0 out, so we have negative 3x is less than 12. I'm going to go ahead and get x by itself. So the inverse to multiplying negative 3 is dividing by negative 3. If y'all notice, we are doing this with a negative. We have a negative coefficient. So what happens to my inequality sign? it is going to flip. So we get x, because -3 divided by -3 is 1. So we have 1x left over, and 12 divided by -3 is -4. So if I was to graph it, so we have -4. We're going to be going representing everything that is greater than -4. So -3 is greater than -4, -2, and so on and so forth. Okay, last but not least, go ahead and do this one and we'll check your answer. All right, let's go ahead and check. So my inverse 2 minus 4 is plus 4, so add 4 here, add 4 here. My 4 zero out, so we have 2x is less than 10. Now I'm going to go ahead and divide by 2 because that's the inverse to multiplying by 2. If I notice my inequalities, or I'm not having to divide by a negative coefficient. I'm not doing anything with the negative coefficient. So my sign stays the same, my symbol. So 2 divided by 2 gets me 1. So I have 1x left over. 10 divided by 2 gets me 5. So now let's go ahead and make our number line. We have 5. I'm representing everything that is less than 5. So 4 is less than 5. 3 would be less than 5, and so on and so forth. Okay, last 3 problems. It says Miss Anderson was looking to buy an old Xbox game. Each game cost $12.95. Miss Anderson bought 5 games. Miss Anderson gave the cashier $80. How much money did Miss Anderson receive back? So we have a lot going on here. Let's go ahead and analyze. Let's see what, so each game is $12.95. Remember, each game represents 1 game. She wants to buy 5 of them, right? She gave them $80, and we're looking for her change back. So a lot going on. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I like to make a proportion or a ratio table to figure out if I'm going to be multiplying or dividing. So what 2 things are we comparing? We're comparing games and our money. So 1 game cost me $12.95. But how many games is she talking about? She wants to buy 5 of them. So how do I get from 1 to 5? Times 5, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do $12.95 times 5. 45, 46, 47. That's 10 plus 4 is 14. 6. Okay, so far it's $64.75. Is that my answer? No, it is not, because it says that she gave her $80. So what am I going to have to do with this $80 and the $64.75? Think about it. You're at the grocery store. Beep, beep, beep. You give them the money. Are they going to just add more money to it, or are they going to take something away? They're going to take something away, right? So we have $80 minus 64.75. 75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75. 64.75 Okay, I can't do 0 minus 5. I can't do 0 minus 7. I can't do 0 minus 4, but I can do, okay. So this makes 10, 9, 9, 7, right? We had to borrow. So 10 minus 5 gives me 5. 9 minus 7 gives me 2. 9 minus 4 gives me 5. And 7 minus 6 gets me 1. So Miss Anderson should be getting 1525 back. But let's go ahead and check our answer just to justify, make sure we're doing the right thing. So 6475, let's add that to our 1525 to make sure our math is correct. That's 10, 10, 10, 8. Yep, we did it right. So Miss Anderson got 1525. Okay, now we're going to be talking about Miss May Budgewater. Miss May Budgewater paid for a donut party for her class. Ooh, I need to go to that donut party. She ordered 8 dozen glazed donuts. Each dozen costs $6.95, and she gave a cashier a $5.50 tip. What's the total amount that she paid? So we have a few things going on here. Let's analyze our problem. So she gets 8 dozen donuts, and each dozen, so that means that's 1 dozen, is $6.95. She tips them $5.50. So again, I personally like to make a proportion because I need it to tell me if I'm either going to multiply or divide. So we have our dozens and we have our money. Well, our donut dozens. So 8 dozen. But I don't know how much that costs, but I know that 1 dozen costs $6.95. Let's work backwards. How can I get from 1 to 8? And times 8, right? So whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. So I'm going to do $6.95 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry my 4. 9 times 8 is 72. Plus 6 would be 76. 8 times 6 is 48. 48 plus 7 is 55. Okay. But it says that she gave him a tip. When you're tipping somebody, you're giving them more money. And so I'm going to be real. You should always give tips to your barber, hairdresser, nail tech, waitress, waiter, everyone, because you never know. This is how they get their money, right? So a tip, DoorDash person, this is their extra amount. This is how they make their living. So we're going to add it to there. So we have 0. 6 plus 5 is 11. 5 plus 5 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. So we have $61.10. Okay. Now y'all do the last one. Okay, so Coach Harvey spent $45.24 for 3 pairs of shoes. They want to know the average cost of each pair of shoes. So they're wanting to know 1 pair of shoes. So again, 3 shoes is $45.24. $45.24. They want to know for 1 shoe. So let's make a proportion. What are we comparing? money and shoes. It doesn't matter which one's on top or which one's the bottom as long as you have the same units. So 45.24 for 3 pairs of shoes. I want to know for 1 shoe. How do we get from 3 to 1? Divide by 3. Divide by 3. So 45.24 divided by 3. 3 can go into 4 one time, right? Subtract, that's 1. Bring down my 5. 3 can go into 15 5 times. Subtract that 0. Bring down my 2. Can 3 go into 2? No. So I need to put that 0 and bring down my 4. 3 can go into 24 8 times. So it was 15.08 for 1 pair of shoes. And then we can always check our answer by doing 1508 times 3 just to make sure we get 45.24. It's 24, 0, 2, 15. Yep, I did it right. So that is your review. I hope you have a wonderful day. Let me know if you need anything. Bye.